Good morning, good morning. How is everybody today? Stressed. Oh my goodness. I have this flower that I got this weekend, and she's so very interested in trying to smell it and sniff it, and she's like, what are those things? And what is that? Do you see her? She's so adorable. It's like, what is that, Mom? What are you growing? Can I eat those things? I had to water it, and I wanted it to get some sunlight while I was sitting by the window today. So anyway, good morning, everybody. This is Daily Devotional, and you are watching Red Moon Eagle, Daily Devotions with Red Moon Eagle, and my name is Red Moon Eagle, and occasionally Astra joins us. And it's Astra, as in star. And I have some pea plants down here that I'm growing, and I have to really monitor them because she wants to like play with them. I think she can hear them growing, and so she goes over there and wants to figure out what it is. It's so funny. Like, I love them too, but we don't play with them or they won't grow. So we're gonna start with self-care. 21, drink tea, which is of course my favorite thing to do. I'm inspired by the wisdom of the plants and the beauty of ceremony. The presentation, preparation, preservation, and drinking of tea is an ancient ceremony. One that has a lot to teach us about the reverence and care we can show to our guests and ourselves in simple moments. Journal prompt. How do you feel when you drink tea or another beverage with an intention, taking the time to enjoy it without any distractions and focusing on all the flavors and feelings that arise? Okay. Egyptian Gods Oracle. Mehen, protection. He is a beneficial serpent god, the guardian of the solar bark of Ra, whose name means he who is coiled. The sacred Mehen shields the god Ra during his journeys on the solar bark, protecting him from the evil serpent Apophis. He carefully protects Ra's journey, also to allow him to be reborn at every sunrise and defeat death. It is envisaged that a time of conflict is on its way to you. You may have a fight. Be alert to maintain your position, but don't fear. Mehen's powerful energy ensures you have great protection against external attacks to come out victorious and relieved. I have things to say about Mehen. We'll get back to him. Animal Spirit Guidebook. He's the lizard. Instinctual, sensitive to the subtle dreamer. The lizard is an expert in the realm of sensory perception, as if it is a sixth sense. The lizard hears what is yet to be spoken and sees what is yet to manifest. Although this is an amazing gift, it can easily wear the lizard down. Big crowds, lots of travel, or overstimulation will drain a lizard of their magical essence. This card is an indication to pull back from the bright lights in the big city and return to the inner artist who's been whispering your name. When in balance, artistic, telepathic, spiritual. When out of balance, elusive, non-committal, flaky. To bring into balance, a creative project. Okay. Mystic Shaman Oracle. Are you going to come back up, Astra? Okay. Number 8 is the circle. The essence of this card is unification, interconnectedness, and a sense of continuum is what this card implies. The circle remains as we are all one. Dancers in a unified, continuous, inclusive circle. This card reminds us of the cycles of life and the evolving self, ever-changing, always connected. Human, spirit, nature, the cosmos, and all intrinsically connected. The invitation of this card reminds you that you are connected to everything and everyone, including to spirit. Spirit's essence beats into your heart and inspires you to co-create your world, knowing that you count, that you have purpose in the world, Imagine even a smile to a stranger can change the course of a life. When the circle invites you to dance the sacred steps of life, know that your work, your love, your service brings greater value than you can know. Stay the course, keep dancing, all will be well. The medicine of this card is when the circle comes into your medicine, you're meant to come to an understanding of the importance of decay, letting go, and the importance of dying to an old form and being born anew. If you are faced with the challenge of loss or disappointment, remember this: in the circle of life, nothing is ever wasted. Love will seek itself again. Prosperity will come from a new idea or opportunity. The Spirit always waits for you to find your place in the dance again. I love that. Okay. So, a couple things. We're going to come back to tea. I love this cup. It says, I can't be held responsible for what my face does when you talk. Yay! It's my favorite teacup. Okay, so when we go back to the card tea, we look at ceremony. The mantra is, I'm inspired by the wisdom of the plants and the beauty of ceremony. In self-care, we haven't talked a lot about self-care lately, and I really, today's cards just led me right back to self-care every time. And if you're not new to the channel, you know that this is a little later for me to post in the cycle of things, and I've been getting later, I've noticed. And one of those things is my own self-care. And when I drink tea in the morning, because I always drink tea when I'm with you in the morning doing Daily Devotional. And it's a ceremony for me. It is a ceremony of not just putting the plants in the pot and brewing the tea, but it is a intentional, it's an intentional connection to something warm year-round, no matter how hot it is, no matter how cold it is. Something warm that I am breaking my fast. Because when you sleep at night, you're fasting. And I'm breaking my fast with rich, earthy tea. And I put cream in it, and I put a bone broth powder in it, and a little bit of chocolate. And I am starting my day with, a little bit of caffeine, because I can. And I'm also starting with a protein. I'm starting my day with proteins and fats and liquids that I have intentionally charged and said, this is what I need to get my brain going in the day. And it comes after a series of other things that I've already done in my morning. And that mantra of understanding that my human body, is connected to the earth because it's a gift of earth. Many, many, many years ago, when I was first teaching in the metaphysical type realm, one of the things I used to say is your body is your altar, because I didn't really have any better way of saying it. And I still think that's probably the best way to say it. Your number one altar of your life is your body. And I don't mean in a selfish, well, I'm going to paint it, decorate it, do plastic surgery, use fillers, do anti-wrinkle, do all these things. That's not what I'm talking about as your body being your altar. I'm talking about your body is your altar. It is your number one sacred connection to Earth herself, because she gifted you this body. And you were born of a mother. So far, I have yet to meet a human that was not carried in a womb by an actual human mother and born into this earth. So far, that is a true statement. No matter how much fiction we read or science fiction we read, so far that is a true statement. So everyone I know has a sacred connection through the womb, through all of the wombs of your ancestors. And native indigenous stories tell us about being born of the stars and of the earth. And that is important for us to kind of hold in our consciousness when we think about our sacred ceremonies. And tea, for me, in the morning, is a intentional honoring of my connection to earth and my temple, my body's temple, that I am starting, I've broken my fast and I am taking nourishment into my body. Yes, I am totally drinking a stimulant. I am taking in a stimulant and fats and proteins, and there is nutrition in there. There is nutrition that starts the cycle. Now, by the time I get to my tea on most weekday mornings, I've had probably 24 ounces of water at that point. So I'm already hydrating, but I hadn't broken the fast. I haven't actually taken in nourishment. So that leads me to Mehen. And he is the serpent god and the guardian of the solar bark of Ra. He who is coiled. He shields the god Ra during his journey on the solar bark, protecting him from Apophis. He comes into, his powerful energy ensures you great protection against external attacks that come out victorious and relieved. Mehen is one of those interesting lizard gods, and in many indigenous cultures, and I'm going to call Egyptian pantheons indigenous because they were indigenous to that culture in the East at that time. And then we look at lizard, which is the animal card, and they're both in this same category of protection and the subtle. They're very aware of the subtle. And one of the most beautiful things that I've always admired is people who admired and then also questioned, depending on what kind of animal companion that has come into their life. But I have several friends who they keep geckos and snakes and dragons and spiders and crickets and exotic roaches, and there's so much life. And Mehen and the lizard are these embodiments of sensitivity. They're embodiments of hypersensitivity in our world. And that hypersensitivity protects us. In psychology, and I can't remember the word I'm looking for because it just ran out of my brain. That's kind of interesting. I had a vision of like one of those running lizards where it's just running across the ground and its ruff is up. Yeah, can't remember the name of it. But there's a part of our brain that is often called the lizard brain. And that is the instinctive brain. That is the part of the brain that is hyper aware all of the time of your environment. That is the brain that kicks in that you have responded to something that was a threat to you that you don't even know that was there consciously. There was no conscious thought. I am going, say the car's rolling and it rolls over your child. The lizard brain is the part of the brain that immediately goes to the car, shoots your body full of adrenaline. You've lifted the car, moved your child, set the car down before you even realize that that's happened. And there's some very interesting neuroscience research that's been done, and anybody who's watched this channel for a while knows that I love to read anything that has to do with neuroscience, even if I don't always understand it completely. And there's an interesting thing about our instinctive brain awarenesses, the awareness you have underneath the conscious awareness. And everybody has it. And they've done some interesting research on people who have what broader culture calls neurodifferences, right? Or disabilities. I'm gonna cautiously throw out that I'm not so sure it's a disability, but it is a difference. And I have a neurospicy brain. I have ADHD and I have autism. Properly diagnosed, I've gone through all the steps, and for me it was a great comfort to have that diagnostic, because now I can lean into the difference more without that anticipation of having to explain why I do it differently and why is it this way, and also trying to make myself do something that my brain doesn't want to do. And interestingly enough, those who have that neurospicy brain, they have a heightened lizard brain, which I think is hilarious. They have heightened awareness consciously in many ways than a normal person. I use that loosely in quotation quotes, somebody who does not have neurospiciness. They have a heightened conscious awareness of what's going on with that lizard brain. They are aware of the birds outside that are jumping around in the tree. They are aware that, so I'll explain to you my awareness, my conscious awareness of my space. So I can hear the dryer upstairs. I am very aware of the birds jumping around in the tree. I'm very aware that Astra looks like she's calm, but she is heightened. Her ears are flicking. She's very aware of all the birds outside. I have a cover on my pea plants that's flickering a little bit with the air current in the house. I can hear the hum of the heating mat underneath my seedlings on the table in front of me. I can hear that my neighbor hasn't left yet for work, because I hear a thump every once in a while because they're moving around. I can feel the vibration of the movement next door. I also know that somebody just left the house next door and they turned on their car, because I can hear that high-pitched hum when they turn their car on. I can feel all of the cars going by on the frontage road behind my house. I'm also aware that there is a train coming, and it's miles out. There's an airport over there, and I always have an awareness of that humming vibration in the air of the planes. And they're very cyclical. I can always tell when there's something wrong in the air if a flight isn't on time. If there's a break in that flight pattern, I can feel it. That is being aware consciously in every moment that all these things are happening at the same time. And it never goes away. Everywhere I go in my world, I'm aware of these things. And the lizard brain, when we talk about the sensitivity and we're talking about the protections that Mehe, the god Mehe, gives, is they are telling you, no matter whether you're neurospicy or not, that you have a part of yourself that is highly, highly sensitive. It's built into your meat suit. And normal people, using that loosely because no one is really normal, but those who don't have as much of that heightened sensitivity, right? They aren't aware of it until they close their eyes, they breathe in, they create stillness, and they start paying attention to it. Those that have a heightened awareness of it, it doesn't ever really go away. It doesn't get turned off. If anything, the more and more inputs that you're juggling, it's more and more difficult depending on your type of neurospiciness, right? The more inputs you put into that meat suit, the more the meat suit becomes agitated, the more the meat suit does things that other people don't do, fidget, move around. They're constantly trying to manage the internal awareness of that quote-unquote lizard brain, all of those awarenesses, And why this matters in the discussion with tea is drinking tea in that card was, how do you create ceremony? How do you create calmness? How do you create awareness? How do you connect in and honor? And what are the ceremonies in your life that help you find that place of peace? And I talk about place of peace all the time. And part of that is I have learned over and over and over in my life, the more I try to do things the way everybody else does it, the less regulation, the less connection, the less I am able to find my place of peace to manage all of the things that my neurospiciness, right? Like my sensitivities. And I think it's fascinating that the final card of our draw today was the circle. And the circle is unification, interconnectedness, a sense of continuum. The circle reminds us we're all one, dancers in a unified, continuous, inclusive circle. This card reminds us the cycles of life. The invitation reminds you that you are connected to everything and everyone. Imagine when the circle invites you to dance in the sacred steps of life. Know that your work, your love, your service brings greater value. The medicine of this card is that you're meant to come into understandings in the importance of decay and letting go, the importance of dying to an old form and being born anew. If you are faced in the challenge of loss and disappointment, and fear and shame, nothing is ever wasted. Love will seek itself again. Prosperity will come from a new idea or opportunity. Spirit always waits for you to find a place in the dance again. That all of the things that create the world, all of these things, you are connected through the womb. And we are all from the womb. We are all from the womb, and we are all connected to Earth herself through our sacred temple, our body. Now, there is such a thing as being connected to the entities within. And I don't talk about it very much, and there's a lot of layering here. So I'm just going to throw out kind of this new concept. It's not new. It's really, really old. I've been aware of it off and on in my life, but it's just come into clarity in the last couple months. And the entities within are, from a scientific perspective, all of the microbes, all of the tiny little things that you need to have for your body to be alive and functioning, working properly. And it's very interesting when I talk to people about centering and grounding and being connected to the body. For some people, being connected to their body is extraordinarily difficult. And for some people, they don't know what it is to not be connected to their body. I think I'm kind of on both sides. I can disconnect with intention, and I can be connected all of the time also with intention. And I can go either way without intention. And I think that there are a lot of people that do that in some way or another. I don't think I'm unique to that. Again, there is so much that I am unique in that I rejoice when I'm like everybody else. And I'm like everybody else with the neurospiciness. I'm like everybody else. I'm born of a womb. I am in a body. I'm connected to the earth just like you. And the awareness in the body, all those tiny little entities within, all those little microbes that make your gut work right, all of these, I always get a kick out of people who are doing parasite cleanses, because I'm like, you do know that the entities within are there on purpose. Yes, you can be invaded by entities like Giardia, right? Like, I don't want Giardia. That's awful. Or Shiga toxin, or there's a lot of things that don't belong in my body. But the other side of it is, if I have all of the communication with the entities within that are natural to my body, then when something foreign is introduced, I have a better chance of my body going, that don't belong and you need out of here, right? Like my body protecting itself. And creating ceremony in things to create calmness and to connect back with the body give you more tools and abilities to, especially if you're neurospicy, to give you to cope with having all of that awareness that a quote-unquote normal person just isn't aware of all of the time, doesn't have conscious connection to. And what's very interesting is sometimes neurospicy people are taught to ignore the signals of their body because a normal person isn't aware of that. And interestingly enough, natural number 8s, out of all of the natural numbers, they have the most body awareness intrinsically in their connection. When they are born into their human body, that is their activation. And that activation is in the chakra concept, it's the root. And when you're born with that awareness, you know what's good for your body. You know that when you eat something, there's a sensation from where it goes into your mouth. And when you swallow that, you can feel it every single, as it goes all the way down, as it coats the esophagus, as it goes into the stomach, you can feel your stomach going, and there's a sense also a little bit of those entities within, those pieces of your body that need to be in balance for that to be digested properly. I've talked to natural number 8s that they can feel where the food is in their gut as it's working its way through the gut, which I used to think was normal, but apparently that's unique to natural number 8s. They go into doctors and they tell a doctor, I don't feel that this is right. And they have horrible experiences with doctors. Excuse me, sorry. Yes, I sneezed. I'm fine, I promise. They have horrible experiences with doctors not believing their awareness of their body. Oh, you can't possibly feel that. That's not the thing. And they're often invalidated very young in life, which there's two sides to that. Natural number 8s can hold a little bit more weight in their body because they can, they can hold more weight in their body because they're aware of all of it. But the other side of it is if they have been disillusioned and disconnected and told that that's not real, they will often use food and the sensations of that pleasure to self-soothe. And so they will become heavy because of that. And it's not because they should be heavy and that it's good for them. It's that the world has stopped listening to their connection to their body. And it's extraordinarily detrimental to them. And it's very interesting that the circle card, that we're all connected, goes back to how all of these different manifestations of awareness in our body, our temple, our human temple, everybody's got one, and how our neurospiciness, right? Like how our lizard brain, everybody's got a lizard brain, everybody has an intuitive, instinctual sensitivity. Doesn't matter whether you're neurospicy or not, just some people are more. And how all of those things keep us connected. All of that keeps us connected. And when we do things like go to war and kill our neighbor, when we live in a life that is in competition in everything, look at all the things I have, look at all the money I have. When we look at othering in any way, whether you are, I use myself this way all the time, pasty white redhead. I'm a pasty white redhead who has ancestry that is mixed. And my mixed race ancestry in some circles is something that you don't admit. You don't admit that you have a drop of any other color in your ancestry. That is an othering. And whole swaths of our communities are othered because they look a little different, or they have a different language that is native, or they have a different ancestral culture. And in reality, those are all external things. And the internal things are all the same. We all come from a womb. We are all mother's children, every single one of us. And when we other each other, when we ignore the sensitivities that our lizard brain is telling us, hey, beware, watch out, or we use the lizard brain sensitivities to be afraid, we create division, because that's what happens when people are afraid. When people are afraid, they lash out and they hurt each other. That is something that is normalized in our society, that if you're afraid of something, it's okay to lash out at someone. It's okay to hurt your neighbor. It's okay to hurt your friends. And fear creates behaviors that hurt you first. And that's a hard thing to hear. It's a really hard thing to hear, that you're hurting someone yourself first. And the sensitivities that are built into our bodies, that Earth herself has given us with the gift of our body, connects us to everything around us. We have a vibrational sensitivity to all living things. And in our modern world, we live in square boxes, concrete floors, plastic everything. I love my wooden chair with my natural fibered covering. And then I also have a grounding mat on this sometimes. And I sit next to this window where I have this, it's actually an irrigation ditch, but I call it the stream, where I can watch the birds. And Astor and I sit here and we watch the birds in the morning, and we watch the grass, we watch the weather come into the valley, because vibrationally, Astor and I are connected. And we want to be connected to Earth herself and all the living things out there. I'm not going to let Astor run around wild outside, because she's going to kill the birds, and there's a lot of wild cats outside and they disrupt the natural balance of the ecosystem. When we choose to have animal companions, they're our companions, and they are choosing to live with us. And there are choices we make in our modern world. And many of us, don't know how many, but there's millions of them, of us, that live in square boxes all stacked on top of each other in apartment complexes. And it's has anybody ever played that? There was a game, and I don't remember what it's called, but it has little marbles, and you put the little marbles in the square box, and the point is to line up, I can't remember what the point is, but you're supposed to get as many marbles in the box as you can in a certain pattern. And every time I think of all those living beings living one on top of each other in apartment complexes, I think of those marbles. We're just putting marbles in square boxes. And we are vibrational creatures connected through our life force, the umbilicus and vibration, to Mother Earth. And the more we separate everybody, the more it breaks the bonds of what creates good culture, community. It breaks the bonds of healthy societal behaviors. And when everybody's reading the news and they're looking out in the world and they're going, what happened? How did we get here? And everybody's screaming, going, I don't know, why are we here? And I'm terrified, and I'm terrified. And then you go into social media and you go into the news, and there's this fear. How did we get here? We got here by pushing everybody into a separateness. The most toxic thing that America exported to the world is hyper-individualism. And it comes out of colonialism, and what started from colonialism, that expansion, all boils down to the origination of how religion shaped for 3,000 years it shaped us into this individualistic, hyper-individualistic culture of separateness and otherness. And it has damaged our physical bodies too. And I understand this because I have a laundry list of health problems. And part of the laundry list of my health problems come from being encouraged to be hyper-individualistic, being a strong, independent, self-sufficient woman. Okay, I am those things. And yet, for 30 years at least, I've been talking about we are community, we are connected. This is an altar, we're connected to Mother Earth. We need to build healthy communities. Even when I didn't know what that meant, I knew that the adage, it takes a village to raise a child, was a true statement. I have known that my biological family, especially on my bio mom side, is broken. And on my biological father's side, it is hyper individualistic. And that was very much pushed from traumas that came out of the immigration process and how my father's family immigrated to the United States, and the result of decades of drought and isolated farmers and taking over native land without permission. Manifest destiny is not a healthy thing. So there is a lot of stuff that each person, as they're working through their trauma, they start reconciling all these pieces and understanding how that's coming out in their body. And I know how these things are coming out in my body. And I'm also not aware of how things are coming out in my body because I haven't come to that awareness. So all of the cards today basically are talking about we're connected, the circle, but listen to your body. Listen to the places in your body that are talking. Find the calming ceremonies that help you connect to several things. Think about it this way. I drink tea to connect to water. I charge my water. I start the food cycle. I've started the digestive processes. I've broken my fast. And as I have broken my fast, I connect in with my body. And that gets me in the wheel, the water, and the food, charging. I have done my deep breathing, right? So I've done my breath work, and I will continue to do breath work throughout the day. And I've done my movement this morning. I've gotten my body moving. I've connected. I've woken myself up. I have connected into all the pieces of my body and felt into anything that doesn't feel so good. And I'm okay with that. And I know that as my day progresses, I will have little ceremonies of rest. So I'm connecting all of those components. And community is the outside of the wheel. That is also rest. Rest and community. Well, food and community and rest and community. It kind of depends on where you are in the wheel, but the wheel is always moving. And it is so important that we connect. Not just to our animal companions and honor that they are their own sentient entity, but connecting to plants. It's one of the reasons I brought this out. Plants, it's life. This connects us to earth. Think of all the wonderful little life beings that are in the microbes of this earth, in this little pot. And this little plant wants so much to be connected to other plants. When you talk to plants, when you sing to them, they resonate. They receive that and they give it back to you. When people talk about, I have lots of plants because I want fresh air in my house. I want to have a good recycle system. That's great. But vibrationally, they give back to you as much as you give to them. We are so disconnected in our society from being connected. We're disconnected from being connected. And when you work and you create ceremony and you honor your physical body, you start to connect more to the world around you. You start to really connect to those that are in other boxes. And you become aware of them and you want to be with those people, even if it's unhealthy. Think of all the people that stay in relationships that are unhealthy and unsafe. Instead of looking at them and going, well, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just change their circumstance? Why don't they just do it differently? Well, think about it. They're seeking connection. We are all seeking connection. No one lives in isolation well. It's not good for them. Neuroscience, psychology, all the studies, they tell us over and over and over again that we need each other to be healthy. When you put somebody in isolation, they do not do very well. It's really important we have connection. And the card for today, the circle, shows us that there's nothing to be afraid of in the wheel. When you're dying, there's nothing to be afraid of. You will be reborn. How you're reborn, that is your choice. Our animals tell us we're connected. Our plants tell us we're connected. And it's important we stay connected. I mean, the whole point of doing daily devotionals, starting it years ago, is to give people the knowing that they're not doing it alone. All of the themes and all of the things I talk about every day are things that are not in isolation. We're doing it together. And let's use technology to create connection. Let's not use technology to other people, separate each other, create fear, and swirl people in their own inner fear, biased, trauma-centered angstiness. Let's stop that. Let's disconnect from that part and connect to honoring the beauty that we all have. I truly mean it when I say I've never met an evil entity. Not really. I've met entities that are scared themselves. I've met entities that are confused. I've met entities that don't really belong in this realm, but they're not scary because at some level we're all connected. Have a beautiful day, my friends, and I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.